What's going on, my beautiful, sexy peoples? BMO Oddish J here, guys. How's it going? Joining me, of course, is my partner in crime, my cohort, the one, the only, the one who has no goddamn eyebrows and is a pale, ghosty woman. The one, the only.
Tiffany Draven, welcome to our show, everyone.
And welcome to Gouki Discussion Time, the segment where we talk about things going on within the wrestling world, letting you guys know how we feel, what is on our minds, and going on coherently within the relevancy of wrestling, whether it's news, events, yada yada yada. Enough about that BS right there. Let's get on with the show. Today's episode, we will start things off with the ends of things to come, because we will have the four horsewomen of UFC versus the four horsewomen of WWE. I don't know if that was even a rhyme there, but I'm just going to wing it right there because I'm cool.
It kind of sounded like a rhyme, so I can respect it.
Kind of. Keyword, kind of. But top conversation comes from the fact of a rumored apparently-ness of the Survivor Series or possible Evolution match of the four horsewomen of WWE, which is Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and the huggable one Bayley, going against Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, and Marina Shafir. I love saying that, Shafir. That's just a really fun word to say.
It just sounds Schaefer.
Shafir.
Schaefer.
Shafir.
Schaefer.
But
It sounds German.
actually, I think it is. I think it's Irish. Probably.
Let's get back to the.
Let's get on with that.
Do this.
So, it's been rumored and speculated because rumor has it, that Shayna Baszler is going to be coming up to the main roster. That's why she lost the NXT Women's Belt, because Shayna Baszler has so far really impressed Triple H on how she's so far come into the WWE. I knew she's in her 40s, and she's really been good in the ring. I mean, I'm personally a fan of Shayna Baszler. I don't know about anyone else, but I actually do like her, and I like how much of a badass she actually is on both on the mic and in the ring itself, which explains why she lost her match against Kairi Sane, because there is a rumor that she's going to be coming up to the main roster. But there is another big rumor that, as I stated, that possibly for Survivor Series or even for the all-women's pay-per-view match, which is said to be the most historic pay-per-view of all time, which is all going to be covered all entirely by women, is going to be having... Well, that's what they've been shoving in our faces. Like, that's what they've been having the whole... Every single Monday night or Tuesday night SmackDown, they've been having, like, being ingrained into our skulls that, oh, this is the first ever, all women's. This is a national monumental moment in women's wrestling history. And it's like, but there are plenty of other wrestling companies that have probably most likely done it before you. It's just that you're WWE and you're not respecting women. But that's for another topic of conversation for another time. Point is, we possibly might have one of the most exciting things happen. Well, we could have the four horsewomen of UFC versus four horsewomen of WWE. Now, I have a lot of things to say, but since I could go on and hours and hours and hours on it, because I don't know how to shut the hell up, we're going to have this conversation start off by the eyebrowless one, Tiffany Draven.
Okay, well, I don't know how long the whole Ronda Rousey UFC girls thinking that they're the four horsewomen thing has been happening, but honestly I find it almost disrespectful, because the four horsewomen of WWE has one of the OG horsewomen, Charlotte Flair, Ashley Flair, and I don't fucking understand why Ronda and everyone in the UFC thinks that they have a right to basically become the new four horsewoman. It makes no sense to me, because definitely Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley coined it, and they're the best of the best, in my personal opinion. So I don't understand. I don't know. Like I said, I just find it disrespectful to all the wrestlers who have been working their asses off. I understand that's a different company. You know, people can fight with me on that. I don't care. But for them to call themselves the Four Horsewomen, I don't like it.
Well, the reason why they called it the Four Horsewomen of UFC was because Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, Jasmine Duke, and Marina Shafir were kind of like the pinnacle of UFC fighting. I believe Baszler, Duke, and Shafir were in Strikeforce. I'm not really too sure because, again, I'm not a UFC fan. I only know really UFC from, like, for example, with the Brock Lesnar whole thing, but we all know that whole given story. But I don't really know much of their real history. I mean, I have seen Baszler's fights. Like I said, I am a Baszler fan because she's a badass. Like, she's a complete badass. She is badass in the ring and on the mic and what she does, and she has the ambiance of a pure badass. I don't really know anything much of Duke and Shafir, but I just know like they were the main four pinnacle for UFC and were the ones who stood out the most because they were the ones who took women's fighting to a whole new level. So I think that's just where they're stemming from, why it's called, calling them the Four Horsewomen of UFC. But I do hear what you're talking about, where it's a kind of disrespect because the original Four Horsewomen had Ric Flair in it. We all know the history of the Four Horsewomen in WCW. We all know that. And for them to say that that UFC has their own Four Horsewomen, for me personally, I find it fascinating because now that term is being used for those who kind of innovate a company or innovate a sport or kind of innovate something in what they're trying to do. So I think that's why they're called the Four Horsewomen of UFC, because they kind of innovated the sport into a more higher plane than it was before. But I do hear where you're coming across, because Charlotte Flair is the daughter of the OG horseman himself, and then Becky, Sasha, and Bayley, of course, being along with her, were considered the new age Four Horsewomen, especially Four Horsewomen of NXT, and of course they came up to the main roster. But for me personally, though, the thing that I'm more focused on is how WWE is going to handle this. Like, how are they going to do this possibly amazing, fun match, and how they're going to handle it? Because one of the things you have going on right now is the Sasha and Bayley weird thing that's going on right now, and they're honestly setting that whole thing up for the possible women's tag team division, which they're going to be probably doing. It's rumored it's going to happen at Evolution. You have Becky Lynch, who is so far in a feud with Charlotte, and it's rumored to kind of continue after Hell in a Cell. It's being speculated that Charlotte might retain the belt, but Becky's going to keep on going after it. No one really knows. But one of the biggest things I have as of right now is if they do it, though. Now, here's the thing. Becky is not a heel. Okay, let's just get it out there. She is no and by far means a heel, because WWE realized where they messed up on that completely, and I mean wholeheartedly. I saw on SmackDown when they showed the promo package of showing her, cutting that promo in the ring, talking about how Charlotte took her thunder, took her fire. That was where WWE realized they really messed up. But it's just going to be interesting because Bayley is being portrayed as this super badass face with heelish qualities, but WWE still wants to make her sort of like into the bad guy kind of thing, but still keep it to where we want her to be the same Bayley Becky that we all know and love, but at the same time they'll still make her into a badass. So it's just an interesting thing because WWE has been doing something with their Four Horsewomen But to see what their kind of messed up story things are going on about is going to conflict and coincide with this a possible match. So I'm kind of having a lot of mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I totally get what you're saying, and that kind of changes my mind a little bit. But like I said, I just don't like how there are two versions of the Four Horsewoman. Do you kind of get what I'm saying there?
Yeah, no, but I do get what you are meaning by that. I do.
I don't know. It just doesn't. It's not my cup of tea, personally.
I don't know, and most people like have been outspoken about them saying that but the Four Horsemen belongs to WWE. That shouldn't be used outside of WWE. That was basically like, years ago that how that rapper The Game, he was being sued because his name was The Game and Triple H's moniker was The Game, but they settled that whole thing out of court. But WWE won't go after UFC because UFC is honestly a much more bigger company than they are. But let's just face the facts here. I think the reason why WWE never really had an issue with UFC having their own Four Horsewomen was because WWE knew deep down inside they were going to get their hands on them. So I think that's the reason why they didn't have an issue. But I do see what you are coming from, though. I do see because, the four horsemen or the four horse type deal thing is a wrestling ideal that came into being, from the original Four Horsewomen. And for someone else who are using it, who aren't really even part of the moniker, let alone the legacy of the Four Horsemen, is disrespectful. I see that. I see exactly where you're coming from. But as I said, I just see it as something where they innovated UFC or Strikeforce or wherever they came from in their own special ways. And that's where I'm just seeing where they're just taking that term in their own ways, where they were four women who innovated women's fighting as a sport.
Yeah, I get that. That makes more sense.
Yeah, but that's just the way I see it. But it's going to be interesting to see what WWE is going to do with this whole thing, because again, you have Becky Lynch, who is this face, or whatever you want to call it, with a badass persona, basically turning her into the straight fire version of Stone Cold, except this Stone Cold has hair. Just having the fact that it's going to be this type of deal is exciting, because I ever since I heard about this whole thing, ever since their confrontation they had at the Mae Young Classic, because during the finals it was Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane, and you did have it with Bayley, I believe it was Becky. It was a while ago. It was definitely Sasha, Bayley, Becky. I think it was Becky, and then Duke Schaefer and Ronda were there to kind of cheer on their friends. And you had that confrontation, and originally the whole thing was supposed to happen at WrestleMania, but they just scrapped the whole thing. Now this whole rumor going around, I mean, I'm personally excited. I mean, I really want it to happen, whether it's at Evolution, which that's another thing too. That whole naming it Evolution, it's just called Evolution, but they're calling it Evolution because, Triple H's old stable name was called Evolution, so let's pronunciate it.
I was wondering if it was Evolution or Evolution.
I don't know. It's whatever you want to pronunciate it, but they were trying to make it pronunciated Evolution because Triple H is the one who's apparently starting it, so why not name it after his most dominating group that he created, which I'm not gonna lie, Evolution was a very dominating stable. That I will not deny. That was one of my favorite heel groups ever. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about women here. We'll talk more about the whole Evolution pay-per-view thing, because I know that you have your conflicting feelings about it, and I have my feelings about it too. Especially with a lot of the news that has been going around, especially with how WWE is doing another greatest Royal Rumble in the most beautiful city that is Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. God damn, it's so beautiful. But
I know, I loved it.
It was so beautiful. But that's gonna wrap up that first conversation right there. Quickly, we're gonna do a short and sweet. Even though it's not gonna be entirely big. Oh, segue. And that segue will lead us into the conversation that is...
The segues.
Oh, yes.
I live for the fucking segues. Oh my god.
Oh, yes.
You surprise me every week.
Oh, yes. Especially where, even though this segment of Short and Sweet is going to be pretty small, but again, it's not going to be too big. But, it's going to be about Big Cass. Now, what is Big Cass been up to lately? Well, other than the fact that the man has changed his name again. But this time, he's going by the moniker of Big C. It's been reported that Big Cass originally changed his name to Big Cass. Now, for those of you out there who know, most wrestlers do this as to kind of play on their old names, especially in WWE. For example, Mr. Kennedy did it when he was in TNA. He was Mr. Anderson. And then that was kind of play on the whole Mr. Kennedy thing. Taz is the most notable one ever, considering the fact that when he was in ECW, he had the 2 Z's, and then when he left WWE and became a color commentator for TNA, he just took the Z out and he just had the 1 Z kind of keeping his name. So most wrestlers kind of play on their old names if they start off in WWE, and then WWE owns the rights to that name. But instead of him just keeping the Big Cass name, which most people would actually know of him right away, be like, that is the most stupidest name I possibly can imagine. It makes sense for Big E because we all know Big E, but Big C, right off the bat, that makes you think he's some underdeveloped wrestler who's just starting off in the independent scene and starting off in the real world and starting off in the wrestling business. But when you see a poster with him on, you're like, oh, that's the guy who teamed with Enzo. And then
that's all he's going to be known for, let's be honest. Just teaming with Enzo.
That's it. And one of the things that does annoy me, though, is that the first match he's going to be having, and I forget the name of the promotion he's in, but I will not forget the person that he's facing, because the person he's facing is arguably considered one of my many favorite wrestlers out there in the business. Big Cass, well, no, actually, no, we have to call him Big C now.
Can I say who it's going to be? Can I say it?
Of course you can, of course.
Jesus Christ. It's going to be Big C versus, drumroll please, James Storm.
The beer drinking, southern speaking, cowboy wearing, hat drinking, mother son gun man himself.
As in, beer money might be making a return.
Possibly. Because it's been speculated, though. Now, this is the real news in here that's more important. There have been talks that James Storm possibly could sign with WWE in 2019. Possibly. That's the key word, possibly. Because if you guys remember, James Storm did about 4 matches in NXT while he was under contract with TNA, making him the first wrestler for TNA under contract to wrestle for a competitor of the other competition's company. And that was a big deal for back then. That really was. But WWE has been really heavily interested in getting the beer drinking, southern speaking one himself, considering the fact that he is arguably one of the hottest free agents right now. He has the biggest fan base currently, more so ever than he's ever had before. And he just radiates with that pure essence of being a good wrestler. And I would love to see him in a WWE ring. I'm kind of really concerned about how they would do it, but it would honestly best another wrestler, which was Bobby Roode. Now, we all know Bobby Roode has been in limbo, and I mean really bad limbo from what's been going on ever since he came on the main roster. It's been bad. Really, stupid bad. This is a man who showed that he is a great heel when he was in NXT, under the whole rich gimmick thing that he had. Obviously, from his gimmick that he had in TNA, where he was a selfish rich man, to being a man who wears a robe, who likes to have a fun time and likes to shake his booty.
shake your booty. Shake it, shake your booty. I will send $5 to anyone who knows what movie I am referring to.
Like, we will legit, like, if anyone can guess that, we will legit send you $5. Like, we're not even joking.
We will Venmo or Venmo you $5.
Oh, yes. We're not, like I said, we're not joking. But that's going to be covering the short and sweet news. Mostly that was about Big C himself, but I just wanted to throw in James Storm in there because me and Tiff, we both love James Storm, and Beer Money Incorporated and TNA was one of our favorite tag teams in there. But enough about the whole thing there. I guess you can say things are kind of getting a little bit all in right now. Oh, segue!
I like how you paused to wait for my laugh.
Oh, yes. But the topic of conversation for this will come in where the shockingness of the success of All In, but also the shockingness of a certain WWE superstar appearing in a non-WWE company, but one taking place within the good US of A. But first off, I want to talk about what I feel is the success of All In. So I was talking to Tiffany before, and she didn't really watch it, but she did see all the Instagram posts as to all the news going on, and I happened to watch All In. And for me personally, though, I liked it. I thought it was a really good show. I thought what Cody and the Young Bucks did was really, really good. The talent that they brought in there. Hell, the pre-show matches were so amazingly good. They were just good. They were good, like, as in, they should be what WWE pre-show should be. Like, they were that good. But we all know pre-shows in WWE will never be good. That's just a fact. But with the main show, though, one of the things that I do want to talk about, though, even though the main show had really good matches, actually no, there's 3 things that I need to talk about. The first, I have to get it out there. Dick Druids. That is now a thing. Dick Druids. I saw that. And anyone who, if you guys have saw All In and you saw that, I was on the floor laughing. Like, it was beautiful, the whole Dick Druids thing. But, dicks aside, another segue.
Oh my god.
Let's talk about the real thing here, and that is Cody Rhodes winning the NWA Championship. Now, this is a really big deal. 2 reasons. One, honestly, it was a really good match. It had a lot of story to it. It had a lot of just build-up to it. Like, there was so much build-up. Like, even the entrances that they had made it feel like a legitimate fight. Like, they felt like they were going to go into an actual all-out war. And I thought that was the coolest thing right there. The one thing, though, I did feel that was a little bit weak was when Brandy just came and interfered in the match, kind of took that elbow to the face, and after the match was over, she just was all fine and dandy. But hey, wrestling logic here. But one of the things that makes this match really special and amazing is that it's Cody Rhodes who has the NWA Championship. And his father was one of the most popular and one of the most decorated wrestlers back in NWA. So this was a huge deal that Cody Rhodes won this belt, is in the same really great Ivy League and as his father. And, you know, God rest the American Dream's soul. It was a really fun match. I really liked it. But the match I really want to talk about, though, but the match that really got me going for the whole entirety of the match was the end result of this certain match was Kenny Omega, which my boy, going up against Pentagon Jr., also my boy. Match was great. Just like with the Cody Rhodes match, it told a story. It was, oh my god. I could go on a huge thing about it, but I don't want to go too much about it. But the thing that really was the shocker part was the aftermatch. Was the lights went off, and then lights came back on, and Pentagon Jr. got back up and beat the crap out of Kenny, and then he delivered the code breaker, and then it was Chris Jericho under the mask. It was great. Oh god, I'm killing my voice here. This is like the most exciting.
Anything involving Chris Jericho in a match usually is amazing.
Oh god, yes.
I don't think I've seen many matches of Chris Jericho that I did not enjoy.
No, especially even matches where he just made an appearance out like after the match, because he just, you know, it was just, oh my god. Like the end was the biggest part that made it so much better, was the fact that you know, he took off the mask and it was Chris Jericho. And I was just like, oh my god. But what makes this one of the most talked about things is that Chris Jericho, as we all know, has said that he will never touch territories that essentially belong to Vince McMahon, because he doesn't want to essentially disrespect Vince, and he doesn't want to betray him, because, you know, they have that really close bond with one another. Now, and then with the possible talk of Chris joining TNA in 2019, because that's when his contract expires, just the fact that he appeared at an event that is basically threatening WWE is just turning so many heads. Like, oh my...
Chris doesn't give a shit. That's what I love about him. He just doesn't give a fuck.
That makes me love him more, is the fact that he will do whatever he wants, because he legit is Chris Jericho.
And is legit probably one of the best in the world.
He is, because...
Isn't probably, he definitely is.
Well, no, he is the best in the world, because he is a writer, he is a director, he is a singer, he is a wrestler, possible painter, probably... host, contestant on rap battles, possibly maybe going to be a possibly one-time, you know, video game creator. Who knows? He might actually beat Takeshi. Ha ha!
Oh my god, I can't.
But
by the way, it's 1 a.m. right now while we're recording it, so I feel like we're both very tired.
Actually, I'm like kind of wide awake right now, and well, no, actually, no, that is a lie right there, because when I'm tired, I talk more.
I've noticed.
Oh yeah, it's kind of that I think that's the reason why this makes it even better for us to do these recordings, especially at late at night. But we digress. All that crap aside, what did you feel, and how do you personally are taking the whole Chris Jericho appearing at All In, like, as a wrestling fan? Because it's one of the biggest shocking things right now, and probably going to be a bit controversial, considering the fact that he is going to anger a certain someone at WWE even more right now.
Like I said, Chris is going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. I'm just kind of going to sit back and enjoy it, because everything he does entertains me in some way, shape, or form, whether it's watching him be a heel, get the shit kicked out of him, which I find funny, or him being a face and kicking the shit out of people, or vice versa. No matter what he does, it's entertaining. And wow, he's definitely pissing off Vince McMahon. He's listening to the fans. He's listening to himself. And that's something that WWE just doesn't want their superstars doing. They don't want them paying attention to the fans. They don't want them paying attention to how they personally feel. They want to put on a show that they think, molded into the way that they think it should be. And Chris Jericho just does not deal with that. So he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And all Vince can do is sit down and be a good boy and deal with it. But we all know he's not going to do that.
Pretty much. I mean, that's the truth, though. Like, no matter what, when it comes down to it, though, Vince can't really do anything. He can't really touch Chris, because Chris is at a status and an all-time level that he's been at, that he's never could possibly ever been to. But he's achieved a level and status so great and higher that virtually nobody can touch him. The moment when
He's
you
untouchable.
exactly, because when you hear
He can do whatever he wants.
yeah, no,
He
because
deserves it.
because when you hear the word Chris Jericho, you immediately think of the man himself, the Lionheart, the master of the walls of Jericho, Y2J, the man of friendship, the man himself. And it's just
The list.
the most magnificent.
Anybody else who would do that, it would be stupid as fuck. But with him, it was just so funny.
And that's the thing, though. He's always reinvented himself. That's what makes him more relevant than really any wrestler in periodness of history. Is that he has always found a way to reinvent himself, and that's why he's always staying relevant. He's always found ways to keep himself going, from being this happy-go-lucky guy to, having his feud against Shawn Michaels originally in the early 2000s, where he literally just despised Shawn Michaels. And then when he came back, his whole gimmick was he was going to free us, and he was going to free us from the tyranny of Randy Orton. And then he turned heel, and then going to this whole moniker of being this soft, barely spoken man who literally would just want to murder somebody. And just so many overhauls of his character have completely reinvented himself and made him more relevant, really, like I said, than any wrestler to date. And that's what makes him where nobody can touch him, because he's always finding ways to reinvent himself. As you pointed out, he listens to his fans. He listens to the people. WWE claims that they listen, but they don't. It wasn't until the best example, I've stated it before, Becky Lynch. We don't want Becky as a heel. We just want to support Becky. And especially where, when Becky came out and attacked Charlotte Flair, and she said, I'm coming for my belt, you bitch. People were still cheering for Becky, even while she was beating the holy hell out of Charlotte. And people are still going to cheer for Becky. But WWE realized that they messed up, and they were trying to fix it. And they're still going with the whole direction that they want her to be this sort of face with heel qualities, or this bad person, whatever. But they know they can't do that, because that's not what we want. Because no matter what, we're going to love Becky. But with Chris, though, Chris listens to people around him. He takes into consideration. He listens. That's the reason why the cruise of Jericho, honestly, and this is just what I feel, is going to be another success of an outside WWE type deal, because Chris is literally listened to all of his fans into creating this cruise. And that's why I feel that it's going to be a factful success, because he listens.
He just knows how to open his ears and realize that it's the fans that matter. Because we're the people that's keeping this business going. Vince doesn't understand that.
Yeah, but Vince will never understand that. And even after, this is the truth though, even after Vince McMahon, kicks the bucket and Triple H takes over the company, they're still not going to listen to anyone, because that's why independent wrestling has become more popular than it ever has been before. Because you have such things as ROH, New Japan, House of Hardcore, just to name a few of other companies that are outside of WWE. And also Impact. Impact has also gained a huge amount of notoriety there. All these.
I actually really like Impact lately. I like how hardcore it is now. They literally took the Attitude Era and the Bloody Era from WWE and made it so much more hardcore, and I fucking love it.
No, and they made this, and all the stories in Impact are entertaining, and they're just worth watching now. Now they are. Before, God, no. But now they are. And it's just all these other companies are going to be doing so much better than WWE ever can. And truth is, unless WWE really gets on that ball of really doing what they're supposed to do, then of course they will never be as hugely popular as, you know, the indie scene is, or New Japan, or ROH, or any of these other companies. But with that being said, we're going to wrap this up with our episode of Gouki Discussion Time, my sexy, beautiful peoples. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, definitely take a liking to this video. If you also like what we produce, definitely take a liking to that lovely, lovely, shiny subscribe button. Also, comment all that fun, jazzy, snazzy, spiffy stuff right there.
Also, we have an Instagram page now that we will be linking down below.
That's right. That's right. I did forget to say that. Oh my god, Tiffany Draven, you're a genius.
I try.
But, as always, I am BMO Oddish J, your resident talking robotic vegetable.
I am Tiffany Draven, your favorite ginger goth, no eyebrows,
Pale ghosty
girl who really likes beer.
Pale ghosty motherfucker.
Exactly.
And, of course, we, again, hope you enjoyed this episode of Gouki Discussion Time. And, as always, as we strongly imply as we may, have a nice day.